Little Giant Boxing.
We've been doing this for about 6-7 years, but it wasn't officially the Mannix and Mora podcast because he's a cheapskate and doesn't want to pay. But finally, he began paying me, so I became I went from being a frequent guest to being a partner. So now we got some things brewing at the Zone, and we're gonna have something on the platform more regularly. So we're gonna be doing a lot of podcasts together. But like I said, him and the Zone now are finally paying me for my boxing wisdom.
You're worth every penny. Sergio, obviously, I don't know if you heard the news, but Jake Paul said that Canelo supposedly is getting paid $100 million to fight William Scull. What do you think about that? That sounds crazy, right?
Felicidades, Canelo. I mean, good for him.
I know, right?
I want him to continue getting these massive paydays, and even if they're against the likes of William Scull and Rocky Fielding and Avni Yildirim, they didn't want to see these fights. But Canelo's getting a boatload of money, and he's fought all the monsters that we want him to fight. So in between fighting these boogeymen, why not throw a William Scull in there? Skull's a champion now. He's a title holder. He has something that he brings to the table, and he has an undefeated record. So, right. Hey, listen, man, that's just being at the right place at the right time with the right belt. So Canelo needs that belt, and you happen to have it. Pay that man his money.
Right. And moving on, obviously, I don't know if you saw the interview with Crawford talking about Canelo, saying if he beats Canelo, that puts him in the top three the top three greatest of all time fighters in boxing history. What do you think?
I'm glad that Bud Crawford thinks that, because a fighter needs to, think he's that great in order to be great. But come on, man, you're talking about all-time great. He said top three. I mean, that's Muhammad Ali, that's Sugar Ray Robinson, that's Henry Armstrong, that's Roberto Duran, that's Joe Louis. Man, that's five already. Those five. So I'm glad that Crawford thinks that, but no way. I don't even think he cracks the top 10, to be honest with you. Because if he names, fighters 6 through 10, you could still name all-time greats. Guys that have done Floyd Mayweather Jr., so many. But his accomplishments are going to be great, because that's going to make him, a three-time undisputed champion in the four-belt era. You'll never see that again because of the politics of boxing. They'll make him a 5-division world champion. That you will see again because we've had an 8-division world champion in Manny Pacquiao. Right. So the accolades are going to be there. But unfortunately for Bud Crawford, the opponent, the B side, is not going to be there. He's in the same boat as a Clarissa Shields. Clarissa Shields is a big fish in a small pond. She is two-time undisputed or three-time undisputed, but she doesn't have that opponent. I mean, she had maybe Hannah Gabriels, and she had another great fighter that she was able to face, but not enough. So those accolades fall short to the all-time great names, Hall of Fame names. And Crawford, what Hall of Fame names has he actually faced? Like 5 years from now, who's going to be a Hall of Famer other than Canelo, of course? Maybe Errol Spence, but in over 40-something fights, you only have one, maybe two Hall of Famers. You go back to the guys that I just mentioned, they have, half a dozen Hall of Famers on their resume. Big difference when you compare yourself to the greatest, man. I don't think greatest fighters, I don't think you should be doing that. I think other people should call you great instead of you saying you're the greatest.
Sergio, what do you think about when something like a fight like this, Crawford obviously will get the utmost respect if he beats Canelo, but do you think it goes both ways? Does Canelo get the utmost respect for beating Crawford?
Nah,
it just goes one way?
It goes one way. I think Crawford is the one moving up in weight. I think he's the one that started as a lightweight and going all the way up to, super middleweight to 168. But
he looks big already.
He's a big guy, and he's intimidating. He's mean too, man. He's a good man. He's a scary, intimidating guy, and it seems like he could fill out the weight because he has the height. He's almost like 5'9". He has wide shoulders, long arms. So when he goes up in weight, he doesn't look pudgy. He doesn't look like, for instance, another lightweight that went up to middleweight, Roberto Duran. When he was facing middleweights, he looked soft.
Yeah, he looks chunky.
He's 5'7". He's 5'7" fighting these monsters in Iran Barkley and everyone else. And that's the reason Roberto Duran is in my top 5 all-time great. but I still can't put Crawford above someone as great as Durán either. So yeah, Crawford. He's gonna be an all-time great, first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the greatest fighters of our generation. But top 3 or 5 or maybe even 10, I don't think so.
In your opinion, what's the best fight Turkey can make in boxing? If you were the
Crawford,
matchmaker,
I think the best fight with him. I think Canelo's going to be too big for him, but I think on the massive level, on the mass appeal, on the big stage, yeah, it has to be Canelo. I mean, because 154 has a lot of talent, but not big names. Scary names, guys that can do well against Bud, just like Israel Madrimov did, but Madrimov wasn't a star. Madrimov gave him a great fight, a competitive fight, uh, um, but he didn't have enough to win or sway the judges in his favor. So I think he's going to have to go for Canelo. That's going to be his legacy fight.
too bad Jermell Charlo's barely getting back into the mix. That would have been a fight I would have liked to see him against Crawford at 154.
Well, Charlo has so many. The Charlos brother. I think the Charlo brothers. I think their career has really been affected by inactivity, by the troubles outside the ring, by controversy, by their bad habits outside the ring, and it's a shame they didn't, pan out to their full potential. But they still have that name.
Right.
So whether it's a guy like Caleb Plant fighting a Charlo, or a Crawford fighting a Charlo, or anyone fighting a Charlo, you know what Charlo is. Whether it's Jamel or Jamal, it's Charlo you recognize. 2 former champions, and one of them undisputed. So, yeah, they're still going to have that to bring to the table.
What did you think about Spence when he said, the biggest mistake I did outside the ring was starting to drink, and that really affected my career? And it got a lot of obviously reactions and responses from fighters.
Well, yeah, no, because every fighter knows what he's talking about. The fighters, not just fighters, but athletes, they burn the candle at both edges. It's hard to find guys like Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Andre Ward, guys that are 100% boxing, don't have any bad habits, no vices, no nothing. It's very hard, and not just boxers. It's every athlete. Period.
It's life too, right?
Yeah, just period. But it's kind of like you don't realize that until you've had a setback. And Errol Spence had a major setback. Not only with that loss, but in that car accident that could have taken his life.
Right.
Both of those were because of his bad habits outside the ring, and like he said, the drinking. So yeah, man, that cuts careers short. But if you think about all our idols, all the greatest fighters of all time were drinkers, did drugs. Sugar Ray Leonard was well known and documented for his problems with drugs. Right. Chavez with alcohol, Oscar De La Hoya with both, and gambling, and womenizing and everything else. Manny Pacquiao. I mean, I'm talking about the greatest fighters of all time, had the greatest vices of all time, but they were still able to juggle both. So it's just part of being a fighter, man. We have that. We like playing with fire in and out of the ring, and that's what makes us fighters, I guess.
And Sergio, in your opinion, is that the best fight that Turki can make? Just Crawford versus Canelo, or is there a fight that you would like to see that he hasn't made yet?
No, I don't think that's the best fight, but that's one of them because Crawford's going to be coming up and weight so much, and we know Canelo has been fighting at 175 and 168 for some time now. So that's probably the most marketable one on the big stage, or maybe Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury on the big stage. But I think pound for pound, talent for talent, what's the best fight he can make? That's Monster Inoue against Bam Rodriguez.
I think that's a great fight.
There you go. Yeah, so I think pound for pound, the best fighting the best at the best time, I think it's Inoue and Bam. That's one of them. But there's a lot of them that Turki alalshikh can make, and you can bet that he's going to make them. I mean, this is what the man does, right? He puts his money where his mouth is, and he puts the best versus the best, and the best don't mind flying all the way to Saudi Arabia or other parts of the world to make that happen because of the purse, because of the money, because of the big stage, and but if these re-out seasons start being put in big cities like London, like in Las Vegas, like they're planning to do Canelo Crawford in Allegiant Stadium, and maybe going to like Africa or Japan,
Africa, I haven't heard that one, but you would know.
Yeah, no, Africa has one of them. Ajagbe and what's the guy that just the heavyweight Bakoli. So Bakoli Ajagbe in Africa, but there's a lot of interesting fights that you've made internationally, and I think Turki alalshikh has that in mind.
Obviously, you're in those meetings, so I mean, I'm sure you can't share too much, but it's going to be crazy next year, right? I heard Alcatraz.
Well, yeah, I'm a little bit more in the know, but as far as what I know, he wants to make fights in landmarks. People that are they're familiar with Times Square. We're getting that. They're familiar with Alcatraz. They're familiar with the Eiffel Tower. They're familiar with the Great Wall of China, the pyramids in Egypt, the pyramids in Mexico. Whatever. Go all over the world. Go to Panama. Have a fight in the Panama Canal. I don't know, man. I'm just throwing them out there, but yeah, man. People are familiar with great places in the world, and if you could associate that with a great fight, that's what people remember.
I'd love to see a fight in LA in Dodger Stadium.
But we've had that before, I think.
We've had, right?
I think we've had. Oh, we've had something at one of those stadiums. I know we had a Yankee Stadium. I know I've seen a fight there. And at Dodger Stadium, there's had to be a boxing fight in Dodger Stadium.
I don't recall, but maybe I'm wrong. I'm not like a historian. You should know.
I should know, and I don't. I'm thinking there has been, but I don't know. But yeah, that's another landmark.
What do you think about Jake? He said he wants to rumble with Anthony Joshua. He said he's too slow and all this shit, talking shit. Jake's feeling himself.
No, it's Jake Paul being Jake Paul. I mean, that's what he does. He's a master troll, and that's the reason he's gained a large following, because he's this white kid that knows how to troll, that is a master marketer.
He's great at marketing. He's great.
That hit a perfect young demographic, and was able to gain a large following and monetize off that large following, and now he can transition that into other things that he doesn't belong in, like boxing. He doesn't belong in boxing. He doesn't belong in boxing, and he's picking apart, and he's picking the right fights that aren't against real boxers, and then when he does fight a real boxer, he struggles and loses against Fury, Fury's cousin, Tyson Fury's cousin. Tommy
Fury.
Tommy Fury. He loses that fight because Fury's the only one that actually was a boxer. And then he fights a damn near 60-year-old man, Mike Tyson, and embarrasses a legend. And now he's going to bite off way too much that he can chew if he does fight Joshua. But this time he's going to be at the end of the punishment and the embarrassment, because there's no way he beats a real fighter, and especially a gold medalist and a two-time heavyweight like Anthony Joshua. Joshua's going to wipe the floor with him.
Supposedly he's going to fight and announce a fight or something along those lines with Gervonta if he beat Lamont, but since it was a draw, it got put off the table.
That'll be another fight where, yes, Tank Davis is a monster puncher. He's a champion. But Tank Davis is 5'5".
Yeah.
Yes, he's scary. Yes, he's popular. Yes, he knocks out everyone in grand fashion. But when you see those two head up, Jake Paul's about 6'1", 230 pounds.
Right.
So, I mean, that's going to be another fight where Jake is calculated the risk to reward, and he's still going to be, laughing all the way to the bank, having the advantage on his side.
But you think he would be able to take a Tank punch? Tank hits pretty hard.
Yeah, because of size alone. You're dealing with a lightweight, Constantino. You're dealing with a guy that's 5'5".
Right.
No, actually, I think Tank might be shorter. I think he might be
he's like 5'3". Yeah.
He's a short. He's a very short
tank.
He's a tiny man, but he's a tank.
Yeah.
And when you're dealing with that much of a height disadvantage, what is it, 6-7 inches, and then the weight is going to be damn near 80, 90 pounds. Come on, man. I mean, weight classes are invented for a reason. That's just way too much. Way too much.
And then segue in, obviously, it looks like Tank versus Lamont Roach, the rematch will be finalized. But I'm also hearing that, Vasyl Lomachenko is in the mix. So I'd love to see either one of those two. I think those two are great fights.
We've been wanting to see Lomachenko for a long time, and Tank's been avoiding that. And that's the reason Tank gets his criticism. At this point, I think Roach deserves that rematch because Tank should have lost that fight He should have been counted for that knockdown. He probably should have got a point taken away. Maybe even should have got disqualified for his corner wiping his face. But either way, he got away with it because he's the A side. He's a popular name. And, he took advantage of the B side. And Roach, for as hell of a fighter as he is and a champion coming up in weight, he deserves another crack at Tank. And I'm glad he's getting it because, yes, we want to see the big names with Tank. But Tank's had so many years to be fighting these guys, and he's been avoiding these names, these big fights at lightweight. The only one he did fight that was a massive fight was Ryan Garcia, but Ryan Garcia wasn't a champion. Face the champions that are in your weight division. That's how you get the respect.
All right. And lastly, before I let you go, Sergio, who can be the face of boxing after Canelo leaves? Because I feel like there's going to be a huge void when Canelo does leave, and so who's going to take the torch?
Great question. It's such a there's a lot of Europeans now that can come and steal that.
I don't know if they can move the needle on pay-per-views and
I didn't say that.
Okay,
I didn't say that. I just said they could be the face. Tyson Fury was the face for a little bit, right? Golovkin was the face for a little bit. But as far as they weren't pay-per-view attractions,
right.
I think we know who moves the pay-per-view needle. That's Mexicans and blacks.
Right.
They could be American, they could be Mexican, they could be Latino, they could be whatever. But they're the ones that sell that. So I just think Bam Rodriguez is the next pay-per-view star. I think if he faces a guy like Inoue, a Japanese great, and that
or
fight
Junto.
gets put.
I'd like to see that one too.
Or Junto Nakatani. But yeah, there you go. Those are the guys that move the pay-per-view needle. Or if you get two great British champions, they can move the needle. But it's going to be on one of those continents, on one side of the pond. So it's going to be it's international sport, man. But those are the names I see carrying the torch for the next 5-10 years.
All right, Sergio, anything you want to let us know, obviously, about the podcast, the Chris Mannix show with Sergio Mora? What's the name of it now? Did it get rebranded?
Yeah, it got rebranded. It got rebranded to a name that I invented. And Chris Mannix finally the fighter and the writer. Notice how I put the fighter before.
I like that.
Notice before I put the fighter before the writer. Right?
Fighter's the A side.
Yeah, the fighter's the A side. So the fighter and the writer come to the DAZN platform pretty soon. And then, of course, we still got the Mora and Mannix podcast. See how little by little I'm taking over Mannix's Mannix's position. I'm colonizing. I'm colonizing, man. That's what I'm doing. I'm colonizing all of Mannix's platforms. That's what I do.
Yeah, fuck it. Give yourself a raise too while you're at it.
All right, Constantino. Good talking.
All right, Sergio.